And we're back live from the heart of E3. If you want to join the conversation, hit us up on Twitter at IGN with the hashtag E32018. Now, we've got the PlayStation Showcase in just a bit, and later we'll be breaking down our picks for Game of the Show. But first, it's time for something that I'm extremely excited for. From Blizzard Games, let's welcome John Haidt to take us through an exclusive look at the all-new World of Warcraft expansion, Battle for Azeroth. John, how's it going?
Thanks, James. It's doing great.
Yeah,
looking forward to E3. I think it's going to be a great show.
I'm looking forward to World of Warcraft going back to the roots for me, which is the conflict between the Horde and the Alliance. And I think one of the ways in which you're doing that is Warfronts. So can you tell me about what Warfronts are and what kind of new gameplay opportunities they bring to World of Warcraft?
So just to set the stage a little bit, and probably going to be a slight spoiler, but for those of you that didn't see the opening movie for Battle for Azeroth, there's this epic battle that takes place at the gates of Lordaeron, which was originally owned by the Alliance, and the Horde kicked them out. The Alliance kind of won it back. But a pivotal area that's still going to be battled over throughout BFA is in Alterac Valley, at Arathi Highlands, at Stromgarde. So Warfronts, the initial Warfront takes place there. The Alliance has Stromgarde. The Horde has set up a base across from it. And you and 19 of your friends are going to be able to either defend that base if you're Alliance. I notice you're wearing blue.
Yes, you caught me.
Or you can attack that base if you're Horde. And then as you capture the enemy commander and take him out, then you seize control of that base, and now Arathi belongs to you. And you'll actually have access to pretty cool world boss, some other goodies for winning that.
So maybe some great armor. So it's very interesting that this is taking place in Arathi Highlands, because that's, for me, the first zone where I engaged in this emergent open-world PvP that has become so synonymous with World of Warcraft. I think really speaks to the heart of what the conflict between the Horde and the Alliance is.
You're one of those Tauren Mill guys, I can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my favorite time. So are you trying to emulate that experience with Warfronts? Is this PvE? Is this PvP? What are we looking at here?
So this is going to be a PvE experience. You'll come into establishing your base. You'll have to actually gather some resources, some lumber, and you'll have some guys picking up metal for you. But as you accumulate these resources, you'll then make decisions about what you want to do next. Do you want to build up a mage tower? Do you want to create siege engines? Because the next step is you're going to have to take some of the pivotal places on your way to the fortress. And you are going to need those siege engines to break down the walls.
I'm very much looking forward to that. Now, another very interesting feature is islands. So islands, as far as I understand them, are these kind of almost mini open world dungeons with this pseudo PvP element, and actually you can choose to have a PvP element in it that almost has these roguelike bits to it, where there's random faction and all this random stuff. So tell me why you're excited about islands and why you chose to do this for Battle for Azeroth.
Islands I think are going to be a lot of fun. It's essentially 3 players, and you can play either PvP or PvE. But we put a lot of effort into crafting AI within the PvP or PvE opponents that you're going to be going against. And they have very specific behavior patterns. Some of them are going to be just all out looking for you and your team and trying to kill you off. Some are going to be, I think that's what you're referring to, Sneaky Pete style, where they're going to go and try and get the Azerite, which is the key element that everyone's fighting for in Battle for Azeroth. They're going to try and get it before your team does, so you have to try and kill them off. But I think you'll find that they'll alter their behavior based on your behavior, which is very different for anything that we've done before in PvE. And that AI, and that investment AI that we've made, I think is going to also be pretty exciting in both Warfronts and in other areas of the game.
Wow, so we're going to see that. And I actually want to speak to that because I was able to play Islands, and I have never seen an NPC in my, 14 years of World of Warcraft. I've never seen an NPC jump. Well, I've been attacking them, and jumping is something that I think that is intrinsic to player behavior, and so seeing that and seeing them react in a way that I'm not used to is really interesting. So I want to ask you what you are going to be doing with that AI that you may have or have not talked about, and where we're going to be able to see that new kind of advanced.
Well, first off, really is an island, so that's where we're going to premiere it. That's where we're going to be tuning it. If you're playing in the beta right now, my apologies, it's a little bit rough because we start out kind of tough. We want to play like, a high-end player would play, and then we'll adapt, we'll tune the game to you and your playability as time passes. But that's where you'll see it initially. And then don't be surprised if we start leaking it into other areas of the game.
I want Gen Greymane sneaking around Elwyn Forest, and I want the Horde to try and gank him with that AI. Anyway, so talk to me about the AI that is not, or the NPCs that are not mimicking players in the islands. Are we going to see random bosses? Is this going to be replayable in that sense?
Yeah, so there'll be a lot of different types of islands that you run into. The objectives on the islands are things that we're randomly setting up when you first queue to get into the island. So you never know exactly what you're going to be going up against. There's the teams, the objectives, and the island layout itself.
Wonderful. All right, well, let's move on to these zones in which Battle of Razaroth are set. These are zones that players have wanted to play for a long time. Kultiris and Zandalar. Tell me what each of those evokes in terms of both thematics and gameplay.
Oh, sure. Well, if you're an Alliance guy, you're going to love Kultiris, seafaring nation. This is also giving us a platform to tell some stories about a few of the characters that, you know, either have been out of the lore for a while or perhaps we didn't say much about in Legions. So this is going to be a great story point for Jaina and how she rallies the forces of Kultiris against the Horde. On the opposite side, Zandalar, you know, there are a lot of troll fans out there. And I think they're going to be pretty excited about what we're doing with their culture, their mythology, and they get pretty hairy, pretty sinister. Blood Trolls are a pretty cool-looking group. Don't be surprised if you don't see the opportunity to play as a Blood Troll at some point.
Ooh, here comes the World of Warcraft Reddit with the new allied races, which is a great segue to allied races. The Zandalar, as well as the Kultiran humans, are coming in BFA. So explain for folks who may have been out of World of Warcraft for a few years what allied races are.
So allied races is something that we introduced with our last content update that was 7.3.5, and it's a way. We're essentially in this mythos. You as an Alliance player or as a Horde player need to go out and find some allies to help in this battle between Horde and Alliance. So in allied races with 7.3.5, we actually had you go to some of the Legion races that were available. So if you were on the Horde side, you got to create an alliance with a High Mountain Tauren or with the Nightborn. And then you could actually play as a Nightborn or as a High Mountain Tauren. So you had a couple of options there. You could go back to level 20 and level 1 up all the way up to 110. And if you did that, you unlocked a really cool heritage armor set, which gives you bragging rights to all your friends. Or you could do a faction change once you had unlocked that race.
So we know we're going to get this fantastic dungeon and raid experience that is indicative of the content you've been doing for the past 14 years. But I want to talk about PvP, something that has been in flux for a very long time. What is war mode?
So one of the things that has happened over time is originally we'd set up servers so that you chose up front, I want to be a PvP server, or I want to be on a non-PvP server. And over the course of time, maybe some of your friends have moved to another server, or there's a guild that you want to be part of.
Betrayed me.
Yeah, well, perhaps. And so a lot of players would kind of complain to us like, I'm just trying to level up. I keep getting ganked. This is no fun for me. So we recognize that we wanted to make this an option. You can decide whether or not you want to participate in PvP. Now, if you do, there's some sweet rewards available to you. So I know you're a PvP person. There's going to be cool armor, weapons, maybe a mount. I don't know. But there's cool stuff available to you if you participate in that.
And one of the things this is really exciting, one of the reasons why this is really exciting for me is because it allows you to not have that weird kind of divisive opinion about should we support PvP servers or PvE. You can support war mode. So what are some of the new things that you're adding to war mode? I heard like kind of PUBG-esque loot drops thrown around and maybe items that can dismount players. So what are you doing creatively within this war mode?
We haven't really announced much there. I would encourage you to keep tuning into the beta and see what we roll out there.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's speak about dungeons. What are you most excited about in terms of dungeons and the conventional raid content? What are the dungeons and raid teams doing?
So what's interesting, I think, this time for us is that we do have faction-specific dungeons, and we will have level-up dungeons along the way. So you as an Alliance player will have access to some dungeons that the Horde players don't play, and vice versa.
Excellent. And then in terms of raids, have you announced anything? Do we know where that's going to be taking place?
Not yet. Raids are right around the corner, though, in terms of what we're going to tell you about it. Raids are typically something that we unlock a few weeks after we've actually released the new expansion.
Cool. Let's jump back to Warfronts super quickly. What can I expect in terms of rewards for Warfronts? What is the incentive to play this? And is this going to be kind of naturally given to players as they progress along the new campaign?
Yeah, so I guess jumping back, you have two completely exclusive zones, one for Horde, one for Alliance, but throughout the campaign, we have a thing called the War Campaign, which will actually take you to the enemy faction zone where things feel pretty dangerous and pretty scary. And so as you level up, you'll be unlocking things along the way. Once you reach level 120, you'll have the opportunity to play in Warfront. Like I said, the first one is going to be at Stromgarde. And what's happening is you're actually collecting resources. This is kind of a nod back to AQ. And in accumulating those resources, your faction can speed up the rate at which they essentially seize control of this area, or they either become the defender or the aggressor in the area. The fruits of the rewards that you get for all of your labor, fruits of your labor, are essentially when you're in there and you're playing in a zone, and you own the Stromgarde or that area, you'll have a world boss that you'll be able to fight, and there's essentially a raid level piece of gear that you'll be able to get. So
wow, that's very cool.
That's going to be pretty cool. As I said, there's also Azerite, which everyone's trying to collect to help power up their Heart of Azeroth, which is kind of the replacement for, if you played in Legion, we had artifacts. We wanted you to be able to have different weapons this time, so we're retiring the artifact system.
Now it is an amulet, which is
You'll
really
still
exciting.
be able to keep your artifact and transmog with
cool.
it. But yeah, it's an amulet, and there's 3 pieces of gear that you can now use with your amulet to power up those gear pieces. So when they drop and you realize, oh, this is something I can power up with my Heart of Azeroth, it's going to be a pretty exciting moment for you in the game. And you'll have that same kind of tech tree and collection aspect in the Heart of Azeroth, but now you can apply it across 3 items.
All right, we're running a little short on time, but really quickly, what are you most excited for in Battle for Azeroth for players to get their hands on?
Oh, I mean, the gameplay is going to be awesome. I think that, the team has done such a fantastic job in giving depth and tying all aspects of the game systems back to the lore. I think the storytelling that we did with Legion was great, and if you love that, you're going to like BFA even more, because I think we develop a lot of the characters in the game. We tie it into the gameplay. I think it's going to be a very rich experience.
I cannot wait. You can get your hands on Battle for Azeroth August 18th. Did I get that correct?
No, you did not.
Well, you can Google it. Break time, but PlayStation is going to be spilling all their secret
3 p.m. Pacific time, August 13th.
August 13th, 5 days off. Break time, but PlayStation is going to be spilling all their secrets next, so stay tuned.